This is Darwin to Jesus. Hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I thought I would discuss a response video that was made by an atheist named Professor Plink about my video, 6 Rules for How to Engage with Atheists. All the atheists are really up in arms about this little video that I made, and I've seen at least 4 responses to it so far. However, I like this one the best as it's the most thorough and highest in production value, and it mostly encompasses the same things the other atheists have said. Before I begin, I want to say I actually enjoyed listening to this. I think Professor Plink has a pretty good sense of humor and the video is well done. He was also fair in a few places, and I'll give him credit for that. So well done, Professor Plink. Now let's go through this. Professor Plink, say hello.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Plink. I respond to various theological and ideological questions and claims from a rationalistic and naturalistic approach in an effort to give and explain the opposite viewpoint and help to balance the conversation. Today we're going to be taking a look at a video from the YouTube channel Darwin to Jesus and its proprietor Daniel and his video on 6 apologetic hacks for how to interact with atheists online. I was driven to respond to this because I've been a bit more active on Twitter as of late. Yes, I said Twitter because I'm not calling it X. It's always going to be Twitter. We should not be giving in to the machinations of that psycho shitheel Elon, so it's Twitter now and forever.
Hey, look at that. We already have some common ground. I agree. It will always be Twitter.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yup!
You want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup!
But Daniel is constantly posting stuff aimed at maligning atheists. Literally all are insulting and derisive in nature.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
This is simply not true. Most of my content is directed at atheists. However, I also talk about abortion, Christianity, my story, and I've written out and defended formal arguments for theism, among many other things. Anyone can go to my page and scroll through it to see for themselves.
Now on to today's video.
So the other day, a Christian asked me for advice on how to do apologetics when talking to atheists. As a former atheist who has spent hundreds of hours discussing God and Christianity with atheists, I thought I could make a video to share what I've learned.
For starters, Daniel, you sound like you're 16. So you say you used to be an atheist, and since converting to Christianity, you've spent hundreds of hours talking to atheists about God? So what, did you convert when you were 8? And then dip out of school for the next decade to go have these theological discussions with non-believers every single day?
I think this is a really weird way to begin with a total assumption that you easily could have verified. For the record, I was a self-avowed atheist from 15 to 29 when I got saved. That was 4 to 5 years ago, so do the math. I have to ask, did you seriously make a video where you, as a 42-year-old man, thought you were dunking on a high schooler? Or did you actually know that I'm not in high school and you were lying right out of the gate? Either way, that's pretty embarrassing, don't you think?
Are you not ashamed of yourself? Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
I'm going to skip the next minute or so where he keeps assuming I'm 16 so that we can save some time. Just a real quick interruption. If you're enjoying this video, please leave a like, share, subscribe, and comment. It really helps the channel. Thank you. So here are 6 rules for doing apologetics with atheists. Rule number 1. Know what kind of atheist you're dealing with. Not every atheist is the same. Some are conservative, some are pleasant and friendly, and some are absolutely terrible.
Well, I see we also get a sense of Daniel's politics in this video. Out of nowhere, and apropos of nothing, you say, some are conservative, some are pleasant and friendly. Why conservatives got brought up at all, I don't know, but to then categorize conservatives as pleasant and friendly is laughable. Conservatives seem pleasant and friendly to you because you are a conservative. So you already agree with them on a whole host of things, so of course they're easy for you to get along with. Someone being liberal doesn't mean that they aren't pleasant and friendly, but if you find any disagreement, religious or political, as being mean and difficult, then you're going to have a bad time.
I said some atheists are conservative, comma, some are pleasant and friendly. This means I'm not necessarily talking about conservative atheists when I say some are pleasant and friendly. As a matter of fact, I have friends on Twitter that are civil, friendly atheists, and they are not conservative. They're very liberal. I'll put their names on the screen and give them a shout out. Next time I recommend you pay closer attention to the words I actually say. The reason why I bring up that some atheists are conservative is because it's surprising. The vast majority of atheists are on the left, so I brought this up to say that not all atheists are the same, which should be a point you would like, but here you are complaining about it.
And that's exemplified in this unicorn atheist type that you're describing. What you're looking for here is someone who has basically no position at all on the God claim. Someone who is just going to sit there wide-eyed and enthused to listen to you as you sermonize to them. Someone who will offer no pushback or arguments against your proselytizing.
Alright, first of all, someone with no position at all would not call themselves an atheist. They would just be an agnostic. They wouldn't self-identify as an atheist. And the tier list is for people who self-identify as atheists. And I don't sermonize to people. I talk about ideas. I'm not a preacher, which you would know if you went through my feed. Every atheist that has responded to this video says that a unicorn atheist is basically an idiot with no ideas that I can just talk to and they'll accept everything I'm saying.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
That's not a unicorn atheist. If you read the meme, it says a unicorn atheist behaves civilly in a conversation and seems open to what you have to say, and they steelman your arguments. It says it right on the meme. You guys can read, right? I also do spaces with unicorn atheists where I speak live in front of a room of people and the atheist disagrees with me the entire time. So let me be clear. I don't expect any atheist to just listen to me, not push back, and accept everything I have to say. I don't expect any atheist to accept anything I say. But some atheists behave better than other atheists in conversation.
And then, once you're done, either be converted by your apologetics, or at the very least, closer to it. You want a pupil, an empty vessel who you can pour in your faith and make a convert out of. You don't want someone who's actually going to give you genuine discourse on the matter of theology. Not someone who's going to have an actual back and forth with you.
Not someone who's going to have a genuine back and forth with me, you say? Well, that's really interesting because so far I've done 13 recorded spaces with atheists where we have back and forth dialogue that lasts for several hours. The rules are no rhetoric, no sophistry, no straw man, etc. Just two people who productively try to understand each other. At no point in any of these do I preach to them. I'll put the link to these spaces in the description. So Professor Plink is simply wrong here. Again.
Not this time. No.
But the second an atheist does counter your claim, or explain how your theistic reasoning is fallacious, or, your God forbid, respond to your atheist shitposting with the same energy and shitpost you right back, well then they're the bad guys. They're black hole atheists. They just want to be meanie heads.
No, not at all, actually. A black hole atheist is an atheist that spams Jesus porn at Christians, and you would know that if you actually just read the card, or the meme, where it says what a black hole atheist does. Getting pushback on memes I post against atheism is part of the game. I expect it. I don't call people dishing some back to me black hole atheists. Show me where I have. I haven't. So far, you have been incredibly ignorant of everything you said. I'm not 16, a black hole atheist is someone that spams Jesus porn, and I have recorded spaces where I have long-form productive conversations with atheists who don't agree with me.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong.
I mean, even the pictures you chose for your memes to represent these types of atheists give away the plot. You couldn't even be bothered to make the unicorn atheist the focal point of that image. You had to have it focus on you as the one evangelizing to them, the wise and kindly pious one, front and center, with the blindly following unicorn over your shoulder and way off to the side.
I think this might be the weirdest take so far. The unicorn in the depiction is not the atheist. That's the mascot. The man in the meme is the atheist. If you look at the dinosaur atheist meme or the fly atheist meme, you'll see I did the same thing for them as well. The atheist is depicted in the center and there's a mascot on the side. Do you see that the man in the meme is holding a steel man? That's because the man is the atheist, and he looks like a saint because compared to other atheists, the unicorn atheist acts like a saint. So Mr. Plink is making weird assumptions, and he's just wrong again.
Not this time.
You're giving yourself away. This is all about ego for you. With the attentive Padawan non-believer just eager to lap up your theological manna, you get to be the smart and benevolent master, kindly bestowing wisdom on the unwashed masses.
Me.
Weird take again. It's not that at all. The only thing I'm saying is that Christians should try to engage with atheists who behave well in conversations. Behaving well doesn't mean any of the stuff Mr. Plink just said. It means the stuff I said. Not insulting, fairly representing your opponent, etc. Do you really think Christians should try to productively engage atheists who are spamming Jesus porn at them? How about atheists who are saying Sky Daddy every minute and insulting them? If a Christian behaved like this, would you think it was worthwhile to engage them?
Double stamp a double stamp! You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lord! You can't triple stamp a double stamp! Lord!
No, you wouldn't. Some people are not interested in having a productive conversation. And if we want to have productive conversations, then those people should be avoided. What part of this don't you understand?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Anyway, as far as me wanting a pupil or whatever nonsense you just said, I've done 13 recorded spaces with atheists that anyone can go and listen to, and you can judge for yourself if anything Professor Plink is saying is true. And I'm going to let you know right now, it isn't.
It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
Rule number 2. Only engage with certain kinds of atheists. Once you understand the different types of atheists, you can recognize which type you're dealing with and use that discernment to choose who you do apologetics with. You should only engage A, B, and maybe some high C-tier atheists.
In other words, only engage with the kinds of atheists that you're going to be more likely to convert. Ones who will not argue or push back against your evangelizing. Ones who won't offer any explanation or reasoning on why they don't believe in God. Because this should be a one-sided conversation, right? This isn't about being mutually respectful and actually conversing with someone of a different philosophical position than you in order to better understand them or why they think the way they do. No, this should be a purely one-sided, one-directional conversation.
Like I said, go listen to the 13 spaces I've recorded where I have productive conversations with atheists. You'll see that they're not at all one-sided, and Professor Plink simply doesn't know what he's talking about, which is a running theme in this video, don't you think?
See, Daniel, this is why people who actually hold the position of atheism as a reasoned choice piss you off so much.
Actually, no, it isn't at all upsetting that atheists give me pushback. I was an atheist. I was one of the meanest. I fully expect pushback, and if I didn't, then it would mean I didn't at all understand atheists. The thing is, I do understand atheists. I fully expect they won't listen. That's what I say in the video that you're responding to. I say, atheists are stubborn. Don't expect them to change their mind. What Professor Plink is doing is trying to reframe my video from don't engage people who have no interest in having productive conversations, which is common sense, to you just don't want to talk to anyone who disagrees with you. Yet all I do every day is talk to people who disagree with me.
When you try to preach to one of us, you're gonna get pushback. And an honest interlocutor would look at such discussion as an opportunity. An opportunity to find out what theistic arguments that you are touting don't actually hold water. Where you're using fallacious reasoning. Or at the very least, find out what problems non-believers have with the kinds of theistic claims that you make. It would help you to refine your arguments and make them more robust and ultimately more effective. But you don't seem to want to do that.
No, that's actually exactly what I want to do, and what I have done, and what I'm literally encouraging other Christians to do. At the end of this video, I literally say the main goal should be to refine your arguments. So clearly, how things seem to you has nothing to do with reality.
In a world of pure imagination.
No, you just want easy wins to what don't even amount to actual debates so that you can stroke your own ego.
What's funny here is it's actually the exact opposite. The A and B tier atheists that I engage are the most formidable opponents because they take the time to understand the other side and why they disagree. If you go listen to the recorded spaces I do with them, they are specifically not meant to be debates because I don't think debates are productive. In a debate, it's just about winning. It's not about listening to the other side and trying to understand them. So why would I not be doing debates and instead just having productive conversations if all I wanted to do was to stroke my ego and win? If I wanted to win and stroke my ego, I'd debate atheists like you that strawman and don't understand these arguments at all. Those are easy wins. Engaging with anyone below that will likely lead to frustration. To identify the atheist not worth talking to, look for red flags like loaded questions, demands for proof, insults, reliance on rhetoric and sophistry, or attempts to control the conversation.
Loaded questions, you say? Loaded questions like, can you prove that? Is that a loaded question? Oops, violated the second rule you had there. How dare you ask for proof of my claims? Just accept it as fact. And if you don't, then you aren't worth talking to.
Yes, I do say loaded questions and demands for proof. I wonder why this irritates Professor Plink. Could it be because that's exactly how he behaves and he thinks people should just put up with this and engage no matter how badly he acts? That seems to be the running theme here from all these response videos. The atheists think that if we set standards and expectations for them to behave themselves, then that's just totally unreasonable.
How dare you?
It says a lot, doesn't it?
Insults, you say? Insults like maybe calling someone a black hole who isn't worth talking to just because they don't immediately accept everything you say as unquestionable truth?
No, once again, a black hole atheist is someone that spams Jesus porn at you. That is a literal thing that some atheists do, and they are black hole atheists.
Approaching the event horizon. Port side, dipping down beneath it. To go through it.
Heading towards blackness.
It's all black.
I've never called someone a black hole atheist because they didn't immediately accept everything I said. That would be ridiculous.
Sophistry, you say? Sophistry is the use of fallacious arguments in order to deceive, which is the apologist's absolute bread and butter.
Really, sophistry is for apologists. Well, then maybe you should be an apologist if that's really what you think, because I've heard a lot of sophistry in this video from your side of things. I've heard a lot of false assumptions and wrong information and total mischaracterizations of everything that I'm actually saying.
And trying to control the conversation? What you actually mean there is trying to have a conversation instead of just giving control over to you so that you can preach at them uninterrupted and unchallenged.
Nope, I mean trying to control the entire conversation. I'm fine with conversations being give and take. That's what I prefer. And that is what you'll find in the 13 recorded spaces that I've done with atheists.
This is a real rules for thee, stupid atheist, but not for me situation.
Instead, engage with atheists who are chill, ask fair questions, and avoid straw-manning you.
We are chill.
But are you though? The vast majority of atheists have almost zero chill whenever they're not fully in control of the conversation or when you poke even a little fun at them. If you want to see how chill atheists are, just scroll through my Twitter account. Are the atheists chill?
No.
That is until you start strawmanning us by saying that we have no morality or can't believe in anything without a belief in God.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Alright, let's go through it. The moral argument is that if no God exists, then objective morality does not exist. That's not a straw man. A straw man is when someone puts up an easy argument as if it's your argument and attacks that instead of what you're actually saying. When did I say atheists have no morality? I've actually publicly said that some atheists are more moral than some Christians. What you're confusing here is that I say atheists have no business believing in objective morality if they say they don't believe in God. I've written out that entire argument and explained it in detail. That's my argument, so that's not a straw man. If you want to disprove my argument and show me why I'm wrong, get to work. Oh, and I have also never said you can't believe in anything without a belief in God. I said you shouldn't believe in anything without a belief in God. And this is another argument I've explained in detail and showed why this is the case. So right here, you have just said I strawmanned you, but actually you're strawmanning my arguments. Isn't that interesting?
Ironic.
Or just insisting that we're all going to burn in hell for the horrid offense of our non-belief.
And that's another straw man by you. I've said over and over that all atheists know God exists, so non-belief is not a thing. You go to hell for sinning.
Then, when such strawmans, which again is apparently something we aren't allowed to do to you, but you're free to do to us, well, when that gets our hackles up, then it's just us getting angry and not being chill enough to have a conversation with. Daniel, this is called gaslighting, and it's a dirty tactic of deceptive people.
You know what? You're absolutely right. What you just did is gaslighting, and it's a dirty tactic, and you are very deceptive. Hey, look, more common ground.
And asking you to prove your claims, or asking pointed questions that point out the fallacies in the reasoning that you're using, those are fair questions. You just don't like them because they force you to take a hard look at your arguments and see them for the broken arguments that they are.
Alright, so pointing out fallacious reasoning is not a question. That's just incorrect. And when an atheist says, can you prove that, they really mean, can you convince me? Because if you proved it, then I'd be convinced. And this is a rigged game. Guess what? The atheist isn't going to be convinced. Then, when the atheist isn't convinced, you didn't prove anything and you lose. That's what you atheists do. That's the game you play. And if you all think this is totally valid, then why are you all so mad in my comments here where I played this same little game on you and asked you to prove evolution to me? Rule number 3. Don't expect them to change their mind. Atheists are often the most stubborn people you can witness to. They reject God because they think they are God, so the idea that you might be right and they are wrong is not even a possibility to 99.99999% of them. Don't expect them to change their minds.
Don't even bother with atheists that strawman you, said the guy who just engaged in blatant strawmanning. A common dismissal tactic of apologists is the claim that atheists don't want to believe in God because they think that they are God. And this is so ridiculously insane because it cuts against the one single, standalone aspect of all atheists, that we don't believe in God. If we thought we were God, then we wouldn't be an atheist because we would believe in God. There have been plenty of cult leaders throughout history who have thought that they were God. They weren't atheists because they believed in themselves. But we don't believe in God, hence we can't think we are God.
I can see why an atheist will say that this is a straw man, but this video is for Christians and I'm just telling them the way it actually is. Atheists absolutely do see themselves as the final authority, and they might not refer to that as God, but a rose by any other name is the same. That's why atheists pretty much all think so highly of themselves. But I do want to add that if you want to have a productive conversation with an atheist, you probably shouldn't dismiss everything they say and keep telling them, you think you're God. Just know it in the back of your head.
And calling atheists stubborn is the biggest pot of all pots calling the kettle black. But, oh yeah, I forgot, you're allowed to be stubborn because you are the right ones, and you should be stubborn when you think you're correct, and it's the atheists who should easily and almost effortlessly slide into your way of thinking. And, as we've already established, should move to your way of thinking with no proof, because asking for proof is just being a black hole atheist.
Listen, I've written out my proofs and arguments in detail, and they are on my account for anyone to look at and respond to. People that don't agree with me are not called black hole atheists. Any tier of atheist I expect to not agree with me. I just said atheists are stubborn, and yeah, you're allowed to be. We're all stubborn. But atheists are the most stubborn. But don't let me stop you from putting more words in my mouth and totally misrepresenting what I'm saying. You're doing great.
We aren't allowed to point out the flaws in your reasoning because that's just rhetoric. No pointing out your sophistry because that would actually be sophistry. And frankly, no pushback of any kind because doing so, that wouldn't be chill, would it?
No, actually, criticism of my arguments is totally welcome. Secular Outpost, who is an atheist on Twitter, he did a 15-page critique of my moral argument, and I thanked him for it, and I responded to all of it. I publicly praised him, and I think he did an excellent job. I'm not an atheist. I make real arguments that are sound and valid. If I wanted to do sophistry, I'd go back to pretending I didn't believe in God. And 13 Spaces with Atheists prove I'm fine with pushback and appreciate it when it's done in a chill way.
Do you know what they call ideas that can't be questioned? Propaganda.
That's actually not what propaganda is. Propaganda is the dissemination of information, facts, arguments, rumors, half-truths, or lies to influence public opinion. It is not ideas that cannot be questioned.
It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
By the way, you're literally engaging in propaganda with this video. So you don't know what propaganda is, and you're a propagandist. But please continue.
And whenever Christian apologists bristle at an accusation of spreading propaganda, I like to point out to them that the word itself originated as a term for a group of Catholic missionaries in the 1600s whose job it was to spread the Christian faith. The apologetic techniques that they used would come to be known as propaganda techniques. Well, they would be proud of you, Daniel, running their playbook perfectly.
Well, I'm honored. So yes, 2 Catholic priests were spreading information in countries that were not Catholic, and them spreading information about Christianity was propagation of information, which became known as propaganda. It didn't carry the negative connotation that it does today, though. Nearly everyone who believes that their beliefs are true tries to spread their beliefs to others. You're doing it, I'm doing it. That's actually the definition of propaganda. So if you're really against propaganda, you should stop talking about anything you think is true, and you should delete your YouTube channel.
You're still here?
If their minds ever do change, it will likely be far in the future, and you won't know about it. It took me years to change my mind and become a Christian.
I say practically this same thing to myself when talking to believers about why I don't believe in God. After debunking theistic arguments and showing them the fallacious reasoning they are employing, I have to remind myself that if their minds ever do change, it will likely be far in the future, and I won't know about it. It took me years to change my mind and stop being a Christian. But even though we don't always get to see people's deconversions, we can take comfort in the data showing us that it is having an effect, and Christianity is on the way out. It's gone from 90% of the US population just 50 years ago to closer to 64% or less today. And projections have it falling down to 46% in the next 50 years, and that's if current deconversion rates stay static. If they continue to increase, as they have been over the last couple of decades, we could see Christianity fall down to only a third of the population within many of our lifetimes. Apologetics is failing. Christianity is losing major ground. And statistically speaking, it's more likely that the apologist will be the one to change their minds years in the future than the atheist.
Listen to him gloating about the decline of Christianity in the West, but yet he wants us to think that he's really open-minded to our evidence for God and Christianity. They give themselves away. But yes, Christianity is on the decline. We'll see what happens. Globally, Christianity is on the rise last time I checked, but I understand that you're going to take your wins wherever you can find them, so that's fine. Rule number 4. Do not give evidence.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
This rule will surprise many Christians, but I mean it. Atheists don't care about evidence. They only ask for it to throw it back in your face and claim it's not evidence. Only give evidence to an atheist if they're your friend, you've established mutual respect, and you're in a private conversation.
Once again, straw manning at its finest. Atheists don't want evidence. No. That's literally all that atheists want. There's no throwing of anything back in your face. If you could provide evidence that actually holds up to scrutiny, and that's key here, it has to hold up to challenges, you'd have a massive converts on your hands overnight.
Yeah, we just need to give the atheists the one piece of evidence that they're missing, and then they'll just come streaming in. They're just waiting on that one piece of evidence. Do you really believe that? Does anybody actually believe that? Anyway, what I said here is not a straw man. I'm talking to Christians, and I'm telling them the reality of the situation. Atheists' favorite game is to say that they want evidence and then play skeptic and dismiss all of it. Obviously, you're not going to admit that you don't actually care about evidence, because then the game would be over. I don't know who you're trying to convince, though. Everyone who has interacted with atheists on a regular basis knows that the vast majority of atheists don't care at all about evidence, and that what I just said is true. If you want to pretend like this isn't the case, you're just discrediting yourself as either a liar or a complete fool who has no idea what's going on.
But I pity the fool.
The only way we're throwing it back in your face is because many of us have been doing this for a long time, and we're fairly sure that you don't have any good evidence to offer. That doesn't mean that we aren't open to it, we're just used to apologists not being able to provide any.
Right, so a few days ago I asked atheists to prove naturalist evolution is true. I got sent a lot of stuff, but I didn't see a shred of evidence that proves that this theory is true. And trust me, I was super open to it. I've been studying naturalist evolution for a long time, and I'm pretty sure no atheist has any evidence to prove that their fairy tale is true.
But when we ask for evidence and you offer the Bible, it isn't us being obstinate or hard-headed to point out to you that the Bible is not a valid or authoritative source. Any more than you think the Quran is a valid source to prove that Muhammad split the moon in half, which I'm willing to bet you don't believe happened.
I don't believe I've ever told an atheist that the Bible is all of the evidence. I already know that they're going to reject that. I talk about the moral argument, design, fine-tuning, transcendental argument, etc., but notice here that Professor Plink said the Bible is not an authority. That's his worldview. In my worldview, the Bible is the authority. We all have a final authority, and his authority is not the same as mine. And this is yet another reason why talking about evidence is pointless. We have different authorities we appeal to. Professor Plink likely thinks that science is the final authority, and I think that the Word of God is. Do you see why talking about evidence when we have different worldviews and authorities is pointless?
Subsequently, any evidence you try to offer that originates in the Bible is also invalid. So, claims of 500 people saw the risen Jesus, or Jesus healed countless sick and dying people, or how could the world be flooded and then repopulated from those on a single ark, if not by divine power? Well, none of that counts because it all comes from the same book of stories and fables and parables that is not a trustworthy historical text.
No, you don't think that the Bible is a trustworthy historical text. I do. You think it isn't because you're a naturalist and the Bible has miracles. I'm not a naturalist. So once again, you're just illustrating how your different presuppositions about reality make talking about evidence even more pointless. Even if you did care about evidence, it would still be pointless to discuss because we have different presuppositions.
Beyond that, everything else you offer as supposed evidence is nothing more than assuming things not in evidence and arguments from incredulity. How do you think we have free will without God? Well, I don't believe in libertarian free will at all.
Wow, you don't believe in libertarian free will. Let me explain something to you. If you don't believe in libertarian free will, then your beliefs are all determined by mindless processes, the same way a coin flip is determined.
Call it.
This means none of your beliefs are justified, because you wouldn't say that if you based a belief on whether a coin landed on heads or tails, you wouldn't say that that belief was justified, right? So none of your beliefs would be justified on determinism. So you shouldn't think that any of them are true, including the belief that determinism is true. So determinism is self-defeating.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Well, how can morality exist without God? Subjectively. Then that means you don't believe in real morality? Yes, I do. Real subjective morality. But it isn't really morality if it isn't objective. Yes, it is. Subjective morality is a thing.
No, that's not real morality. If you ask us, does God exist? And we say, well, yes, he does, subjectively. Does that mean God exists now? No, it doesn't. You're playing word games and subjective morality is a joke. If morality is subjective, then rape and murder are not actually wrong. They're just things you personally happen to not like. You have no grounds for justice, no grounds for outrage, no grounds for disagreeing about any moral subject because morality is subjective. How are you going to say that your subjective morality is better than someone else's? You can't. It's nonsense, and this is one of the major reasons why I left atheism.
I'm very poppin', y'all!
Well, look around. Everything's designed. No, only man-made, or to a lesser degree animal-made things are designed. Most things come about through natural, unguided, unintentional processes.
Actually, if atheism is true and no God exists, then nothing is designed because everything, including humans and animals, is a result of mindless processes. So on atheism, even cars and phones are not designed. But also, you said that most things come about through natural, unguided processes, which is totally unproven, and this is just your worldview as a naturalist. You have no evidence whatsoever to back that up, and in fact, there are many reasons to think you're wrong, such as the fact that the universe is intelligible, the fine-tuning, and the fact that we see number patterns like the Fibonacci sequence all over existence. All of this screams that a mind is, in fact, involved. But continue with your straw man.
Well, how did life come from non-life? While we don't have a definitive answer to that, and I could just say, I don't know, and that would be a totally valid response, there is actual evidence to support the idea of abiogenesis, the idea of life spontaneously forming naturally. And by the way, not having an answer for something, and because of that just defaulting to God must have done it, that's why people thought the sun was a god riding a chariot of fire across the sky.
Professor Plink has absolutely no idea how life came from non-life. No one does. But he believes it, and he's saying, I don't know, but naturalism must have done it. This is naturalism of the gaps, which is ironic because he's saying we're doing God of the gaps. The question we should be asking here is what better explains life existing? Is the better explanation an accident, or is it a mind? But that kind of question is usually far too advanced for atheists like Professor Plink to grasp.
There's just no point in talking to you. Why won't you just believe what I tell you to? And then the pure guffaw-inducing laughability of you saying that the discussion needs to be based on mutual respect when you have no respect whatsoever for any atheist, well, that's just delicious.
Well, is being wrong your favorite food? I posted on June 27th, 2024, a public tweet where I praised A-tier atheists. I said, the best of the best, and then I listed those atheists. I respect all of them, and many more that are not even A-tier. I do spaces with atheists, and not a single one has complained, and most of them have wanted to do another one with me. You know why? Because I showed them respect. So something tastes delicious. It must be the fantasy that you believe about me, and has nothing to do with what I'm actually doing. Ultimately, evidence isn't going to change anyone's mind, because atheism is about rebellion, not evidence.
Atheism is about many things. Rejection of unfounded claims. Distaste for dogmatic hegemony. Dissatisfaction with proven falsities of a faith that have gone unaddressed. Fundamental disagreements between denominations, each calling the others heathens who spread false teachings. All these and more, but most central in atheism is purely and simply not being convinced. And as that is the central aspect of atheism, atheism is uniquely concerned with evidence. Much more so than any theistic belief whose central focus is on other things. Things like salvation, or having answers to provide comfort and security of thought, or fear at angering an assumed deity, or lifelong indoctrination that was drilled into one as a doctrine that could never be questioned. None of these things are focused on or all that concerned with whether or not they are accurate. So it is the rare theist who is at all interested in evidence, or whether the evidence that they do think about holds up to scrutiny. But atheists? We are all about that evidence. Provide it and see people become believers overnight.
You serious?
All I have to say here is that if you actually believe this, that simply providing evidence to an atheist will make them become a believer overnight, then I have a bridge to sell you. I had hundreds of atheists giving me massive amounts of evidence for the theory of evolution, and I'm now even more convinced that there's absolutely no evidence for the theory. Why do you think this is?
But, much like the James Randi Educational Foundation offered a $1 million prize to anyone who could provide evidence of the supernatural, a challenge that ran for 50 years without anyone being able to claim it, despite thousands of attempts, you theists simply cannot provide any evidence that holds up to critical examination.
Tell you what, I'm putting up a $1,000 reward to anyone that actually proves to me that naturalist evolution is true. All you have to do is prove to me that all life came about with absolutely no supernatural intervention, and you win the money. Let's see how long it takes.
Look what I found in my pocket! Look! A year's salary right here! What I call them? Fun coupons! See that? A fun coupon!
Rule number 5. Don't take anything personally. Atheists will insult you, demean you, gaslight you, denigrate our Lord, and more. Don't let it get to you. Don't take it personally. Atheists love to get the better of Christians, so if you find yourself getting upset, take a break from the conversation. If this happens often, you should probably stop engaging with atheists. They'll make a fool out of you and hurt your witness. If you're going to deal with atheists, you need very thick skin.
This is fair enough. And I'll take a break from dunking on Daniel for a moment to say that he is right. Atheists, especially in the realm of online discourse, can get insulting or denigrating and can certainly attack or malign theist positions and beliefs.
Yeah, they sure can. You've been doing it this entire video.
But what needs to be mentioned is that this is a sword that cuts both ways. Christians in online theistic discussions can be just as insulting, just as denigrating, and just as outright mean as any non-believer. Especially with each other, which is sometimes interesting to see. There are few people who get as vicious with each other as different denominations of Christians absolutely at each other's throats about things like, the Calvinists are all blasphemers. No, it's the Baptists who are butchering the Word of God. No, Catholics are praying to statues of Mary, and that's idolatry, and you Catholics are all going to burn in hell. And that's always fun to just sit back and let them fight, but between atheists and theists, both sides are looking to score points.
So, a few things. In general, Christians are nowhere near as mean as atheists. Most Christians are engaging because they don't want atheists to go to hell. I'll add that I'm definitely embarrassed by how mean Christians are to each other about inner theological disputes, and this video illustrates why Christians shouldn't behave this way when they're interacting with each other. This is why you don't see me debating with Christians and fighting Catholics and all that, because I know it's unproductive, and it makes us look silly.
Both sides are trying to convince the other that their position that the other side holds is wrong. And in true online interaction fashion, both sides can devolve into shitposting and trolling. And it's pointless to get into the playground mindset of, well, they started it, because everyone thinks that the other side started it. For theists, well, they just came online to share their ideas and spread the good word of God. Totally altruistic. But then the mean atheists started shit-talking their faith. And they kept doing it, so it's not the theist's fault that they were just responding in kind. They were just returning the same energy that the atheists were using. Then for the atheist, well, they were just coming online to talk about their experience in deconstruction, because maybe it could help others who are feeling the same way, And they also wanted to know if others were experiencing the same thing they did. But then all these vicious Christians started coming out of the woodwork telling them that they're all going to burn in hell, and they just want to sin because they're wicked, evil little bastards. So it's not the atheists' fault that they responded in kind. They were just returning the same energy that the theists were using. Look, grow up. We're all in this online space, and we're all on different sides. And people from both sides shitpost. Your side isn't immune to it, and you don't get a free pass for doing it because the other side started it. Nor do you get a free pass for doing it because you're on God's side. Own your troll behavior, Daniel.
No. No, I don't think I will.
No, I don't think I will. I troll rude atheists that just want to have a dunk contest. Well-meaning atheists I befriend and have good conversations with, and there's no issues. If you want to act like a fool, I'm going to oblige you, and if you want to act like an adult, chill out and have a good faith conversation, then that's what I prefer. And this idea that atheists were just sitting together innocently discussing their deconversion and a bunch of theists barged in and told them that they were going to hell, I think Professor Plink has quite the imagination. Rule number 6. Know why you want to have the conversation. In these discussions, there are 3 healthy goals you can have. To convince the atheist, to convince the listener, or learn from the interaction.
Not a bad list. Though none of these things are mutually exclusive, one can be attempting to achieve all of them simultaneously. And I would say that that third option should always be of paramount importance, even if one or both of the other goals is also at play. But I have a sneaking suspicion that you mean something very different than I do by learn from the interaction.
I recommend making your primary goal to learn from the interaction. Often, the best way to learn how to debate is through trial and error, so you can learn a lot just by applying yourself and having these conversations.
See? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. By learn from the interaction, you just mean to refine your technique to become better at debating so you can more easily achieve goals 1 and 2. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a terrible thing. One who engages in debate should always be striving to improve in that regard. But if you're interacting with someone who has a different philosophical position than you do, one of the primary things that any person of conscience should be doing is learning about that person. Learning about what they believe and why they believe it. Or, in the case of atheism, learning why they don't believe in the things that you, as a Christian, do believe in. The goal of these kinds of conversations should be primarily to better understand someone else. I always look at interactions with theists as an opportunity to learn more about them and what they specifically believe. Because I know that everyone is different. Even people of the same theistic belief will have differences and variations with others within their same congregation. I'm interested in learning about the individual beliefs of the individual person, how they came by those beliefs, and if those beliefs can be justified. Now, maybe they can be justified to that person's satisfaction, but not to my satisfaction. And that's fine too. But just as they can explain to me why they do believe based on their reasoning, I can offer why that reasoning doesn't work for me.
Yes, I agree with all of that. Well said. Yes, the most productive thing that we can do in these conversations is ask, why do you believe what you believe? And listen to the other person. That's what I've been doing in the 13 recorded spaces that are on Twitter, and it's what I do with all of the atheists that I've befriended since I started my account, and I intend to continue doing it. Alright, I think I'll end this here on a point of mutual agreement. After this, he goes on to re-summarize all of the straw men and misrepresentations he came up with, so there's no need to address it all again. I definitely edited this down a bit. I took out some of his gifs and his introduction because his video is 30 minutes long. So you should go watch his video and make sure I was fair in what I took out. Overall, I think the video is well produced and entertaining, but very little of what he said was accurate. Hopefully my response clears up all the misunderstandings that atheists keep making about what I'm saying. Anyway, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. And let me know in the comments what you think. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.